Hey y'all, this is B Wendy. Really quickly, before you hear this dynamic, amazing episode, I just want you to give me some grace and forgive me. There is a slight echo during the interview. It was coming from one of our computers, and I am so sorry. I noticed it later on, but I hope that does not get in the way of you being able to hear the podcast and allow it to bless your life, because I promise you it will. So again, please forgive me. Just a slight echo with the interview, with the podcast, with the recording, and may you be blessed. I'll be back next time with episode number 54. Don't forget to let me know how this blessed you. Bye bye. All right. Well, good. Hello, hello, hello. Empower to Empower You podcast is about all things Jesus Christ and mental health and anything to help you become the best version of yourself. I am your host, Miss B Wendy Bob. Welcome, y'all. I hope y'all are doing well. Happy New Year. By the time you hear this podcast, we are in now 2021. So listen, y'all, I have some great news with episode number 53. Y'all, I got a guest. And it's about to be dynamic. It's about to be so awesome. I'm super excited. I can't stop smiling because my guest, y'all gonna hear her voice, but I'm looking at her face. So we're about to have just the time of our life. Okay, so I want to introduce to y'all Mrs. LaBrenda Thomas. She's my girl. She's my friend. But let me behave. She is a native of Little Rock, Arkansas. And she currently lives in Memphis with her two babies, Landon and Lauren. Well, Landon not a baby anymore, but they still her babies, right? And her husband, Larry. LaBrenda is a licensed clinical social worker and a licensed school social worker who currently serves as the Dean of Social Emotional Learning at Perea Elementary. LaBrenda is also the owner of Empowerment Counseling and Consulting, where she enjoys serving individuals, couples, and families. Although she's very busy, in her spare time, LaBrenda enjoys traveling. She loves to eat, y'all, okay? And spending time with her family and her friends. Give it up for Miss LaBrenda Thomas. Woohoo!
Hello. Hi.
Yes, I am so excited to have you here on the podcast.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, you are my first guest. So I'm super excited to jump in 2021 with my first guest. And
absolutely.
What a better first person to have as you. Listen,
thank you.
Tell the people about how you serve. I mean, how you serve people. How do you serve people in your current roles?
Well, plural, right? Because those are just two jobs that I mentioned in the bio, right? So, long story short, I am a social worker. I'm a licensed social worker. So at the charter school that I work for, Perea Elementary, my biggest focus is social emotional learning, teaching teachers how to implement or how to integrate social emotional learning in their classroom setting. And then also we support our students social emotional as well by providing them with one-on-one support, group support, whatever it is that they need, we provide it. In my private practice, I provide mental health services, I guess you can say therapy to adults, primarily adults, but I also see children in my private practice as well. And amongst all the other contract jobs that I have, I'm pretty much doing the same thing. I am providing mental health services to all of Memphis. So that's what I do in multiple ways.
All of Tennessee, right? Because, we licensed.
Yeah, that's true.
We're licensed.
Yes, and some Arkansas, because I'm licensed in Arkansas as well. So I see a few Arkansans every now and then. So absolutely, we're hitting state to state, city to city.
Love it. Friend, how did we meet each other? I was trying to think before you came. Like, I know we both have a different version. Like, if they ask me how I meet you, I will tell the people that I stalked you. Okay, like I stalked you. I was working at Support Solutions, and I was looking for something. Somebody mentioned you. Support Solutions, for anybody who doesn't know, serves individuals with intellectual disabilities and mental health diagnosis. And I was about to help them to create this intensive outpatient program. And I don't know who mentioned your name. You were on lock, okay? I could not find you on Facebook. I don't know if I looked on IG, but I went to good old LinkedIn, right? What's your version of the story?
Well, my version is, all I know is I was in my office. You were working for Support Solutions. I was working for a company called Project Transitions, which was at the time a new program that was just starting out in Tennessee. We were also serving the IDD population. So all I know is I was in the office and the phone rang, and our office phone never rung. Like, we all had our own little work phones and like cell phones or whatever that we received calls on. So the office phone rang, and I was like, who calling the office phone? And so you were on the other line, and it just sparked just flames instantly. We were just laughing and talking about our field, talking about how we can work together. I think we were hosting a training within the next couple of days or weeks or something like that, and you attended the training. So ever since that phone call, it's like we have been inseparable. Like, we even followed each other to a job together, worked there for a couple of months together, and we can't get rid of each other.
We're not going to tell the whole story. That's probably a whole nother conversation.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I am so honored to have met you. I was trying to think, did we meet in 2016, 2017? I couldn't. 2016?
It was 16, yep.
That's what I wrote down. So I was trying to think about that. All right. Well, listen, today, y'all, we are going to talk about obedience. Woo! Somebody say obedience.
Yes.
What a perfect first topic. I'm hoping that this comes out, is released first week in January. So what a beautiful topic to start the new year with. Tell us, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you with that word?
Oh, it means so much to me, and I really don't even know if we have all of the time to explain, but in essence, when I think of obedience for me, I think of when you hear God's voice. We all connect to God spiritually in our own ways, and so when you hear God's voice, you act accordingly. That's obedience, so I have heard God's voice on so many different levels for so many different things. And to be truthful, it's been very hard to truly walk in obedience in some instances because of the things that you have in the back of your mind, or the things that you hear in the back of your mind. This is the fear of the unknown. So it's just literally walking in God's voice, walking in that purpose and in his presence. And once you hear him say move, you act. That's what I feel like obedience is.
You said a couple of things I want to go back to. Walking in God's purpose, and basically whatever he says to do is to do it. If he says, it's no ifs and you can't argue that. If he says,
you can't.
And you said also, I am guilty too. I think we all can say that we've been guilty where God has said to do something, and we try to rationalize it. We try to, oh wait, God, like, do you mean, I don't know. What if I'm not? What if this? What if that? And all he said was to do this. And we come up with all the reasons in the world that's what keeps us behind.
Absolutely, because we are all born with a purpose. God has given each and every one of us a purpose, and he also gives us the wisdom and the tools necessary to walk in that purpose. So it is up to us to execute that, not to make excuses, but to execute. And so along with obedience, it means to trust God. So in summary, B. Wendy, I would say that obedience is hearing, trusting, submitting, and surrendering to God, in that order.
Say that again. Hearing, trusting, submitting, surrendering. Did I miss
To
one?
God in that order. Nope, in that order.
We're just gonna let the silence, let the people marinate on that for a second. Hearing,
Mm-hmm.
trusting, submitting, surrendering to God. And you said something earlier too. You said God gives us purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Write that down, because I think, and I know that 2020 was a wake-up call for a lot of us,
Yep.
especially the believers.
Yes.
Okay, now of course the non-believers, but especially
Mm-hmm.
those of us who are Christians, who believe God, who say we have a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and really realize, snap, did I really have a relationship, or was my relationship based on just church attendance?
Mm.
Was my relationship based on a personal relationship or a congregational?
Mm.
And you take congregation away, what am I left with?
Yeah.
How to pray, if I don't know how to believe God, and I start looking for, or if my purpose definition was based on my job or my work, you take that away.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's a word.
who am I? God gives us purpose, and that is so.
Yeah. And you know what I always say when I have clients who are literally stuck in that moment, B Wendy, when they don't know what their purpose is, and they're especially like that transitional age, those, 22, 23, 25-year olds, and they're trying to figure out their lives. They're trying to, officially cut that umbilical cord from their families. They're trying to figure out, okay, so after I eliminate them, my safety net, my cushion, who am I? Like, what is left? And so my biggest advice to them is, if you take away the financial gain that you will get from fulfilling your purpose, then think about, what would you do for free? What would you do without receiving any financial gain? Is it mentoring people? How can you turn mentoring into making money? If it's being a basketball coach, or you love sports in some type of way, track, whatever, if you love art, if you love music, how can you make your passion, how can you turn your passion into, making that financial gain that comes with that? Because I feel like your passion equals your purpose, because God puts that fire. Your passion is that fire in you. Like, you can't sleep without it. Every time you think about it, it's just something sparks up inside of you. You can't stop thinking about all the ways that you can do this in your life. That comes from God. That's that fire that comes from Him. So I feel like your passion equals your purpose. But you have to connect. You have to hear God, you have to worship, you have to fellowship, you have to just, you got to do a lot of connecting in order to really figure that out. Because some people think that just because I enjoy doing this, that this is, my passion. You really got to hear God's voice. Just because I enjoy shopping does not mean that's my purpose in life. I need to be walking, opening up a store, so you really have to hear God's voice to truly know that this is it. But you'll know because it's in your heart. Like, you will truly, truly know.
I love that. And the word that I just heard when you said that was alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Be aligned with God's will. God's will. When people tend to separate. People tend to struggle with the word. Well, what is God's will?
Yeah.
God made everything simple for us, right? God's will is His word.
Yeah.
And so, what does His word say about who we are, and how can we be in alignment with God's will, right? In terms of purpose. So tell us how that word obedience came to live for you in 2020.
Oh my gosh, you guys. So obedience has actually been alive in my life for actually 2 years now. After I had my youngest daughter, Lauren, she is 2. She's going on 3 in February. So almost 3 years, really. So after I had her, I had parted ways. I decided to part ways with an organization that I was working with. And during my maternity leave, I that fire. I always knew that I wanted to be in private practice. That was the sole purpose of me going to get my master's in social work, getting my clinical license. I knew from jump that I wanted to own a private practice. Now, how that was going to happen, when that was going to happen, I didn't have that timeline because it wasn't on my time. I always walked in God's, purpose. So during maternity leave, I was talking to my husband, and I told him, you know what, I don't want to go back. I want to just, I want to jump into my full-time private practice, because by the time I had Lauren, I had been in private practice for 2 years, for about 1.5 years or so. So I wanted to just do it full time, and he fully supported me. We got everything in order to make that happen. And then another opportunity came up for a full-time position. The job at Perea came up, and it was music to my ears, because as a social worker, you want to help teachers integrate SEL or social emotional learning in their classroom. So I felt like I couldn't pass up that moment, and like, okay, this is my I got to do this, And so I jumped in that and did that, knowing that God was pulling me to my full time. But then, like a lot of us do, we try to spin it and say, well, God put this in my life for a reason, so I'm going to do this too. And so I convinced myself that this was I was in alignment with God to go there. And truthfully, it's a great experience. I do feel like, I am there on purpose. But I also know that the route that I was supposed to take, it was very conflicting. So here I am, almost 3 years. This is actually my third school year working with Perea. And I actually did not plan to return this upcoming school year. But again, not listening, not following, not doing what I'm supposed to do, according to God's purpose. I'm okay, let me just do one more year. Because I was just comfortable in this consistent salary that was coming in. I was very afraid about, okay, if I cut this safety net from myself, then what's going to happen, And my husband was like, what are you talking about? Like, you have nothing to worry about. Why are you concerned about this money that's coming in? Don't worry about that. But still, this is my cushion. This is almost like when babies walk around with those safety blankets, or not safety blankets, but those, blankets that comfort them. That's what that job was for me. That's what that paycheck was for me. Also, while enjoying the job. I don't want to sound like I don't like it, but so here we are now, a few years in the game at Perea. And I just literally, I think November, I pray daily. I fast a lot. But this last time, November-ish, it was close to Thanksgiving, because I think my fast kind of went into Thanksgiving a little bit. But I was fasting in November, needless to say, and I just kept hearing God's voice. And I did not just hear it from him spiritually, like in my heart, but I was just hearing it from different friends. And granted, Wendy, friends and my husband, everybody around me was telling me, girl, do it. Just pushing me, encouraging me, praying for me, praying with me. That was always going on. So this is really nothing new. But when I say the fire was like loud, when I say it was almost like God came down and was playing this loud trumpet and was like, listen, daughter, do it. This is what I'm trying to get you. It just literally felt like he came from heaven to personally tell me, this is what I need you to do. When I say everything that I read, everything that I heard from different sermons, from interacting with different people, it's like he was speaking through them. And different people who don't know each other at all, some people didn't even know my story of what I'm battling with internally. They were just saying stuff, and I'm just like, okay, God, I hear you, okay? I hear you. So by that time, I was like, I just had to make a godly decision. I just had to walk in it, and I just, um, basically align things to where my shift has begun. I knew that I was comfortable with it. I knew that I truly heard God's voice because I didn't go back and forth with myself about it. I didn't justify why I need to extend this time. I didn't try to justify why I need to prolong it for a little bit longer. I was so secure and so at peace with my decision. That's how I knew, okay, God truly, truly got me.
Wow. That is testimony. I'm on my edge waiting to hear what happened next. But a couple of things you mentioned, this is so good. And I know that this is helping somebody right now. It's helping me. We keep in touch with each other's story. You are in my safety support circle. And so we keep in touch. We celebrate each other. In fact, you were the one, I remember I struggled with this fear of holding on to the safety net. And I remember even to just start the private practice, you were the one in my ear. Even if I had been licensed since 2010, I wanted to do this for a long time, but it took for me, for God to align us, for you to say, be Wendy, just do it, right? So I can definitely relate to this fear. And even if we'll say all day, somebody say, are you afraid? Nah, I ain't afraid. Nah, I ain't scared. I believe, I know the word.
All day. Yeah.
Really, actions will say something different, right? This is exposing some people right now, but you did say afraid of losing the safety net when you have that consistent check coming in every 2 weeks. You know that it's there, and we don't mean to replace God's security with that, something like that, but then we do it anyway, right? Unintentionally, right? And then you also said a key thing, because in order for us to hear God, and this is so good for me right now too, in order for us to hear God, we have to make our hearts and our spirits sensitive to hear the voice of God.
Yes.
Talk about that, because you just said the key word, prayer and fasting.
Yep.
We've got to do some prayer and fasting.
You have to. Like, there is no way around it. You have to pray, and not just, a two-step, God keep me covered. No, like, you got to get down in there. You got to truly open yourself up. The way that I like to open myself up and get myself in that true headspace where I don't have any distractions around me. Number one, I do eliminate distractions around me, but I also do some worship, play worship music. I praise and worship Him, before I really get in that zone, because praise and worship is something that truly helps me connect. It helps me get there holistically. And fasting is something that I do a lot as well. I don't do the same type of fast. I may say I'm fasting from social media for a while. I'll, disable, social media platforms, or I may, fast from different things that I may eat consistently that I will truly, truly miss. Like, I truly make sacrifices so that I can really, really hear His voice. And when I tell you, every single time, but while I'm praying, and I don't fast just to get what I want, quote unquote. I don't want people to think that that is the only reason to, or not the only reason, but that is not the reason, let me say that, to fast. But I fast to connect with Him. I fast to hear His voice. If there is something that I have been truly concerned about, and I need alignment, I need connection, I will sacrifice. And I will spend more time than usual with Him, doing a devotional that aligns with whatever it is that I'm fasting about, praying daily, like I said, removing distractions so that you can hear. So if you are truly stuck to your phone for your social media, you need to remove those distractions so that you don't have anything else outside, any outside influences that will get in the way of what you're trying to hear from God. And be specific, be very specific about what it is that you are seeking. That's one thing that I learned early on when I was learning about how to pray. I don't hold back. I do not hold back. I literally go to God before his feet and I ask him everything that I need from him. What do you need from me? I'm praising you. I honor you. Like, it's literally like, it's a genuine relationship. It's not a one-sided relationship, because again, like I said, I'm making sacrifices for this relationship. I'm giving some things up so that I can connect with you and strengthen my relationship with you. And not just for those 21 days and not just for those 30 days. This is something that needs to carry on. I have done fasts that have led to various lifestyle changes. So again, not making it seem like it's let me do this so I can get that. Absolutely not. If you truly do a fast correctly, it will truly change your life beyond those 21 days or those 30 days. Once those days are up, if you have not shifted or changed in any type of way, you didn't do it right. You need to go back to the drawing board.
This is so powerful, because it's something that we need to hear, because a lot of people our age group are not hearing that message, right? I understand the importance of you cannot self-help your way through relationship with God. You can't, there's not one bomb.com therapist that can replace that relationship with God, that prayer, that fasting, that lifestyle of consistent submission to him, right? It's a daily renewing of the mind. It's a daily process so that we can be sensitive. And that's something we all need to, including myself. That's a daily walk. And for people that are like, well, look, Wendy, LaBrenda, I missed it. I messed up. God, there's grace for you, right? There is grace. So my question to you is, what would you say to somebody who struggled with obedience, who struggled all throughout the year of 2020, just kept missing the mark? And let's not even talk, that's a whole nother topic with spiritual apathy that people experience, this I don't feel like it type of thing. I don't feel like reading. I don't feel like praying. And when you mention eliminating the distractions, there's so many voices. Yes. So many voices trying to pull. That's what the enemy wants. He wants us to be so distracted, because what he cannot destroy, he distracts, right?
Absolutely.
What would you say to somebody who's like, look, I am struggling with this obedience thing?
Number one, that self-awareness right there is the jump start. Just being aware that you are struggling, because like you said earlier, a lot of us are so quick to say, oh, I'm good, everything's fine, I'm managing and all of that stuff. But when you can be honest with yourself about the struggle, that's the first step. Another thing that I would suggest is surround yourself around people who refuse to see you fail. That's what I have, and you are one of those people in my life, but I have a lot of other, I don't want to say a lot, it's not 50, but some quality friends in my life who refuse to see me fail, who refuse to see me give up on my dreams, they are my accountability partners, even if it's getting on my last nerve. Like, look, don't ask me, because sometimes that accountability is so hard, but I love it because it keeps me on my toes. I know that the last time, it lets me know too that my friends are listening and they know what my desires are. My husband says, oh my butt about, following through and making sure that I'm not putting more effort into someone else's dreams and their stuff more than empowerment counseling. Your focus needs to be on that. So I have a lot of people who have shook my focus and make sure that I'm not getting lost in something else. But having a solid team that will pray with you, pray for you, removing those distractions would be so key. If you have people who are toxic or negative in your life, you need to set boundaries and not allow them in that emotional space for you to knock you off of your course.
So you said somebody who's struggling with obedience. You said, be honest with the struggle. So first of all, we have to be able to, when the Bible says we need to confess our faults to one another, then confess our sins to God, confess our faults. Now, it's hard to find the right people to confess. So it's important to have the right people for sure to say, look, I am struggling in this area. Because a lot of times, and again, 2020 just exposed it. A lot of times we walk around thinking that we have it together, and we don't. We don't.
Yep.
So be honest with your struggles. Surround yourself with the right people who refuse to see you fail. And you went back to taking, setting boundaries with toxic relationships for sure. So anything else you tell somebody who's struggling with obedience?
Keeping God at the forefront, keeping Him at the forefront, setting a routine for yourself, a morning and a night routine that includes God. So devotional, meditation, praying, whatever you choose to do, but you need to put God in the forefront. He needs to be the first thing that you focus on in the morning, the last thing that you focus on before you close your eyes, and even in between the day, finding time during the day to connect with Him. So that would be, that's a start. That's a start.
Back to that relationship piece. So what, and if you've already spoken to this, that we can always go to another. But what does that word mean for you as a mom, as a wife, as an entrepreneur? What does that mean for you?
Oh, when I think about my obedience, I think about the people that I influence, my husband, my children, people who look to me in this field as a mentor, my clients. I can't preach to them about, walking your purpose and you got to be obedient to God, and I can't preach that to them if I'm not walking in that. So I strive to be a good example. I strive to be a good modeling that for them, so that I'm not just talking it. They also see mom, they also see wife, they also see mentor, they also see therapist doing these exact same things. So that's what it truly, truly means to me. And then just having, when you're obedient to God, like the abundance that come with that is just so remarkable. I just love the feeling when I am just really walking in alignment with Him. I'm truly being obedient to Him. The abundance of oh my gosh, it's just it's so beautiful. And then it not only blesses you as the one that's being obedient, it blesses those that you are connected to. It blesses my children that, because mommy is obedient, my children are blessed, my husband is blessed, my household is blessed, my friends are blessed, my clients are blessed, because I chose to walk in this obedience.
Absolutely. A couple scriptures that came to mind is, if you are willing and obedient, you will eat the good of the land. And that's what God wants, right? And then the other scripture that came to me was, we are supposed to live in a way that's worthy of our calling to which He has called us. So God wants us to live. He wants us to prosper. And prosperity doesn't always mean money. Prosperity includes salvation, sound mind, walking in purpose, walking in blessings, all the things that come. It's a whole package. It's a whole package. So that is so important, because you said that's so key. When we walk in obedience, the people around us are blessed. And my gosh, just imagine what happens when we're walking in disobedience, right?
Oh my gosh,
yeah. It's just that's not a good thing for sure. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about that. We'll think positive. Walking in obedience impacts the people around you. It's like a domino effect.
Yep, it is.
Absolutely. Yep. So what would you say to someone? I know that this is getting so good. I know that people are going to be ministered, because even this podcast, like, friend, like I remember struggling with God about wait a second. I don't have anything to share on a microphone to the whole world. Like, but again, that's the lies of the enemy, right? But I almost
Yes.
believe that lie. Like, why would I do a podcast? Ain't nobody gonna listen to me. Excuse the vernacular. Nobody's gonna listen to me. Well, what if I didn't? Like, what if I didn't? Right? I never knew. I didn't know we were gonna have a whole pandemic in 2020. Nobody knew. But because when we position ourselves to walk in obedience, God does the rest. All He wants us to do is to say yes. You know?
That's it. Because He will not put that fire, that desire, that purpose in you and not take care of you along the way. If He put it in you, and that's the realization that I had to come to grips with too, is this passion has been inside of me for a very long time. I've graduated with my master's over 10 years ago. And even before then, I knew that this is the path that I wanted to take. I wanted to be the owner of a private practice. And so now I followed all the steps. I did all the things necessary to accomplish that. So now it's like, now I have stage fright, thinking that, okay, so now it's real. Yeah. But, I had to realize that, this has been inside of me for a very long time, and God has me covered, period. He does, and He has shown me time and time and time again that He has me. And not just spiritually, not just in the presence, when I'm in His presence, but even through people that I'm encountered with. Like, He truly comforts and soothes me through other people, and it is so remarkable.
I love it. Let's go back to the second half of your story. So you were battling with the obedience. You tried to stretch out being a pariah. You told yourself, oh, I can stay another year. Maybe, this is, I need to keep on to this security blanket. And then you had the fire that was ignited. You prayed, you fasted, you took it before God. God sent all the confirming messages to you. And your husband even supported you and say, what are you worried about? What is it? What is going on? Tell us what happened next.
So what happens next? After I completed my fast and I came to terms that this is what needs to happen, I literally just made an executive decision with myself that, okay, I need to put myself in position to make this transition for myself. So I had a conversation with my boss, and I was like, listen, like, things are really picking up in my private practice, and I need to make some shifts. I need more time. I need to devote more time to my private practice. So my proposal, my stance is, when you go to someone with a problem, you have this, go ahead and have that solution ready. Yeah. So I had my solution. My solution was, I can do 3 days a week here, and I'll be committed to that, so I can do 2 days in my private practice. So she was very supportive of it, and that's where we are. So starting in January, I will be tapering off and working 3 days a week at Perea, and doing 2 days a week at my private practice. And as planned, I will this will be my final year with Perea.
Listen, what's the word that you taught me?
What would I teach you?
Clutch, honey. That you live in the clutch life. You about to just in case people don't know what clutch is, will you define it, please?
Clutch means that something is legit. Like, it's cool.
Yeah. It's a good life. You live in a good life. You walk in abundance. I am so happy for you. I am so excited for you. That is such a beautiful testimony that, when God blesses us, He's blessing us through obedience for other people, right? Other people are going to be benefiting from your story. Other clients will be, because there are people looking. You are the solution, right? We are the solutions for other people's problems. And God, everything about, I'm reading this book, and it's super, super anointed and just so full with revelation. But everything about God is a pre, He preordained, he predestined, he prepared, he everything is he knows everything from the beginning to the end, right?
Yep.
So just the people that will be in position because God knew that, hey, daughter, I have some people for you. I have some things for you to do, for sure. So I'm just super, super excited for you. So what would you say to somebody, this is a couple last questions. What would you say to somebody who is struggling to hear? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. What would you say to somebody who is struggling to hear God's voice? Struggling to hear God's voice. I think I have a 2-part question to that. Struggling to hear God's voice and also struggling to obey him, possibly because sometimes our own pride, not sometimes, always, our own pride gets in the way. We have our own abandonment issues. That's a whole nother topic right there. But go ahead, take the wheel.
Well, similar to some of the things that we've talked about earlier with, praying daily, seeking him on a consistent basis, connecting with people who are in alignment with your mindset. It's difficult to be obedient and to walk in alignment and to walk in your purpose if you have a mixed group of influencers, so truly looking at your circle and figuring out, because the word tells us iron sharpens iron. If I was the shiniest apple in a barrel full of rotten apples, what will that do to me eventually? So really taking a look at the people that you surround yourself around will be another key thing to do. And it's easy for us to sit here and say, just walk in it and just do it. But it's never just do this. Like, you truly have to put one foot in front of the other, and you literally have to be intentional of that. It's my favorite word. You really have to be intentional. You have to be intentional about your walk, your journey with God. So the fasting, the routine, like truly including God in your routine, is so powerful.
Before you go to the next part of that, though, I've heard people say things like, and I'm sure you have too, what if people are saying that I'm doing that, right? But I still don't hear God.
Ooh. And that makes me ask, do you really not hear God, or are there blinders on? Is there a smoke screen? Because are you seeking God with fidelity? Because sometimes we can say, well, I prayed, I sought him out maybe once out of 30 days in December and I didn't hear him. It's not a one-time thing. It's truly a connection. It's truly a relationship. So how often? Think about your routine again, thinking about the routine. How consistent are you with your seeking? Are there other things surrounding me that I need to adjust? What is my lifestyle like? Really looking, through a honest lens.
Yeah.
Because I've heard people say that before, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, but I will always ask my clients, how consistent are you though? And they'll say, well, okay, yeah, I fell off, about 2 weeks ago. That's why it's not working.
Right.
And here's the thing too, nobody said that this is the magic fix. Nobody said that this is going to be an overnight fix. Let me say that. Because God is powerful. God can, shift and move some things. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. You heard me say at the beginning, I have been struggling with this for 2 years.
Yeah.
And my daughter is about to be 3. So literally, it's actually been more than 2 years. So as I was on maternity leave, I was like going back and forth. It was almost like a tug of war Perea was pulling me, my private practice was pulling me, and it was nobody but me who needed to make that decision. You know, Perea didn't know that I was trying to walk into my private practice. That's something I put on myself. So that's something else though. What are we putting on ourselves? Sometimes we put unnecessary stress on ourselves. So thinking about that, am I making this too hard? You know, because I feel like at times I was making this decision too hard. I was putting other people before my dreams, and that's another word within itself, because we get, and that's something that my husband has always preached to me about, is that you give 100% to all these other entities, but when it comes to empowerment, I hardly hear you talk about empowerment counseling. He calls it empowerment group. I'm like, it's empowerment counseling. But I hardly hear you talk about empowerment counseling. You rave about all these other things that have been birthed by other people. So are you putting yourself first? That's literally how I shifted just a month ago. I had to be honest with myself, and I said, you know what, you are putting yourself on the back burner, and you have had yourself on the back burner for a very, very long time. It is time to stop.
Yeah, that's hard awareness.
It is hard awareness. It is very hard awareness. So you got to be honest with yourself. You really, really do, because I don't really think the problem is that we don't hear God. I think it's A, distractions around us. B, we do not really sit in a space of vulnerability. We can't be honest with ourselves. For 2 years, I justified. God was loud and clear, but I justified why I needed to be here. I justified why I need to be doing that. And just how consistent are you? How consistent are you being? So keeping those 3 things in mind as you truly try to hear his voice. Am I being consistent? Am I surrounded by distractions where I can't hear him? Am I justifying? Am I putting, other things before me? Am I making excuses? Like, you really got to think about, why am I still in this space? And that was a moment of truth for me. It really, really.
And also too, this is so good. And telling God, like telling him, Lord, I really want to hear your voice, and I am struggling to hear your voice. Help me to, help me to know your voice. Even one of the most powerful tools, in addition to praise and worship, is praying the word of God. And the word says that you make me wise as a serpent, humble as a dove, but also that I may hear your voice. My sheep know my voice. Right? Hear my voice, know my voice. So taking that word and saying, God, your word says that my sheep hear your voice, and help me to be sensitive to your voice, that I may not be deceived. I want to know your voice, God. Show me what to do. And being quiet enough to hear that, because he speaks in so many different ways. He speaks through the man of God or the woman of God. He speaks through the word. He speaks through the Holy Spirit. So anybody who has accepted Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, confess him with their mouths, believe them with their heart, the Holy Spirit is living on the inside of you. He speaks through a child. He speaks through our clients. He speaks through a book, a park. He speaks through so many ways.
He does. He does. So right.
Yeah. So good. Oh my gosh. Look, we're going above the time, but it's all right. Tell us, what's next for you? How can people, if I were to ask you, who are your ideal clients, right? And if somebody is looking for, I have a lot of clients that's always looking for a Christian therapist or a person to really help incorporate their relationship with Christ. That's who we serve.
Absolutely.
We serve all people too, but I'm saying we serve Jesus, right? We serve all clients, what I mean, but we serve Jesus, the Most High. Okay. We don't serve the universe. we don't talk to anything else.
No.
I just had to say it. But if somebody, who are your ideal clients, and how can people, work with you? How can they connect with you? Go ahead and share that.
Absolutely. I just, my ideal client is really anyone who is willing to do the work. I cannot do the work for you. So if you're willing to sacrifice some time by putting yourself first and eliminating some other things around you that's holding you back from putting yourself first, you are my ideal client. How you can get a hold of me, my website is ecc-memphis.com, and you can find us on Facebook at Empowerment Counseling and Consulting. Um, so you can go by the website, and email us and let us know that you need some services, or you can contact us through our Facebook page, whatever fits you. We are here.
Yes, yes. And I'm so excited because LaBrenda, she didn't say this, but y'all, she also serves not just clients and couples and families, but she will also be serving teachers. Because a lot of teachers, my gosh, that's a whole nother I'm probably gonna have to have you to come back and talk about teachers and mental health.
Yes.
Because so many teachers were drowning in mental health issues, and so I'm so glad that's such a unique market that you are in position to help serve teachers and mental health for
Yes.
sure.
Yes, I did not mention that, but that is one of my soft spots. I definitely love, because I'm in the trenches with teachers. I work with teachers on a daily basis, so I see the level of stress, and it's really not the stress from work a whole lot. It's just their own personal stuff, and just having to show up to work every day and keep a straight face and try to beat the odds. So yeah, that's a soft spot for me.
Very, very. Well, look, friend, I am so excited, so thankful, so honored that you graced us with your presence. There are going to be people listening from all around the world, honey. To God be all the glory. The United States, Sweden, New England, or not New England, England,
Okay.
Switzerland, Canada, Switzerland, Canada, Asia, so all around the world. Okay,
They're going to hear.
so just be ready for your information to blow up, because there are a lot of people that's always looking for services, and especially people know that they know that they need God. People know God created us with that one desire to need him. He created us for a relationship, and there is nothing in the world that can satisfy that desire. Nothing in the world. So I am so thankful that you honored us with your presence. If there is anything that you can say to someone listening right now, if you had the opportunity to say anything, what would you say? This is your moment.
I would say keep pushing, stay in the race, do not give up. No one is perfect, and you're gonna get to your destiny. You're going to figure out what your next move needs to be, but also making sure that you are prepared. You are ready to walk in whatever it is that God has for you. So, we get very anxious about, I want to hear it now. And, the moment I pray, I need the results immediately. And God does not work that way. He knows exactly what we need when we need it. So when you do hear him, try your best to walk immediately. Don't wait 2 years like I did, and try to make excuses for why you're not, walking in your purpose, or following whatever it is that God put in your heart. Just walk in it and know and trust. With obedience is trust, like I said earlier. So if you truly want to hear from him, you got to be careful when you're praying, because God will truly, truly bless you. It will just rain with blessings. So you have to also be prepared for the abundance that's going to come with those prayers, and, be ready.
Amen.
Be ready.
Amen. Well, friend, I'm so excited. Thank you so much, y'all. I know that you were blessed by this podcast. I cannot wait to come back with another episode. Enjoy, just take your time, take notes, press rewind, listen to it over and over again, because I know that it is going to add a lot of value to your life. All right, I'll be back. See y'all next time.